user move the mouse over the image, okay, that one is hover. Okay, hover can use CSS client side. Okay, 3. Okay, questions 1 and 3. Update the stock quantity after the transaction completed. Okay, stock quantity transactions, you need to relate it to the backend things and the database. So that one is server side. Email notification sent to confirm user transaction. Okay, user transaction is the things that we need backend, okay, systems, okay, maybe using a database, whatever things function related to backend. So that one is the server side. Okay, even though image notifications we able to send, okay, using href mail tool, right? That one is a text only. But for us to tag the user related information to send to the user, especially it is related to the transaction, it is server side. Okay. So if this type of question is very easy to get marks, no need to study also no. Okay, B. Okay, list one example of server control and then explain 4 advantages of using server control in ASP.NET. Okay, server control, we know what is that. Okay, when we make a project in your Pericles tool, okay, you make a project, right? And then we drag some server control or the web control from the toolbox under standard category to our web form. That one we call it server control. So one example of server control, this is the right. So server control. Okay. Okay. So server control, when we click and drag, yes, when we click and drag server control, we can choose the labels, the list box, drop down list, text box. All these are server control. So you give one example of it. Again, one example of the server control. Okay. Alright. Whatever that you can click and drag from the standards, that one is server control. Okay. And when we click and drag the server control to our web form, okay, under the web form we have design, we have split, and then we have code. Okay. In the design we see says we drag the text box, we see the text box in the design. When we change the source, right, the source, okay, what we see is ASP text box, okay, with others the attributes like ID, okay, run as server, okay, and close the ASP tag, right. This is what inside the source file, okay, when we drag the text box in our web form. Okay. After that, okay, we have the forms ready. You click and drag, change the ID. So the design view is done. Okay, then you double check the source file. Design, split, and source. You see this type of tag inside our source. Okay. Then we run it. Okay. I run without debugging or run it when we debug it. Okay. It will show the results. It will show the page using the browser. Okay. The browsers, whatever shows to the users, they render it using HTML tag. So the browsers, when you right click, see the source. You will see the source is this type of HTML form tag. Okay. So when we click and drag the text box, okay, in our source you will see ASP text box. Okay. And then when we preview in our browser, you see the source, okay, it will change the text box to HTML input type equal to text. Okay, so this is ASP.NET Web Control source file, and this is the end result when it presented or show it in our browser. This type of questions also come up in the past years. Let me show you one example. Okay. Describe ASP.NET and explain 4 advantages is the ones that you have done last week, right? I asked you to do A and B. C. Differentiate between source page in Visual Studio and final HTML page in the browser. Differentiate. You see just now servers, okay, the server source, okay, and the HTML tag. So you need to know how to use your own words to explain the difference, and you can use some examples to show the difference. This is how we answer C. Okay. Write down the questions and answer as well. Yeah. So this type of questions come out also. So we need to know. But if we have done our practical exercise, right, we actually know about it. But maybe you don't know what is the source page. A source page is the design. A split source, that one is the source page. HTML is when we run it, show in the HTML, you got to see the source in HTML. That one is HTML final page. Okay, so for C, you can refer to this, but not only give some examples, you need to use your own words to explain the difference also. Okay, that is 5 mark, right? 5 mark. So today the questions we do is 30 marks. Okay, later you count how many marks you get. These ones, the ones that you do, you have done just now is 25 plus the ones different between the source and the HTML is 5 marks. Okay, this one is 5 marks. So we go back to our 25. Okay, this one, this one. Okay, B. Examples, still the examples. Okay, list one of the server control examples. So anyone's, and then explain 4 advantages of using server control in ASP.NET. Okay, 4 advantages. Okay. Benefit of using ASP.NET server control. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 9 marks, right? If 9 marks, there should be 1 mark for identifies the server control. So you put in SP labels, or SP text, that one. And drop down this, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2. 9 marks. Okay. So put in your marks, next to your answers, see how many marks you're able to get. When you see list, right, we list out. When we see explain, right, based on this explain means that you cannot just put it intuitive object models. You need to explain a little bit examples like this. So if this is 8 marks, means that 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Now recount your all marks, Okay. C. B, okay, right? Okay, it's one examples, 4 explanations on the advantages. C. Okay. Provide 1 example for each of the following components. Web server. Okay. When you use ASP.NET, okay, and then we run it. What server we use for this ASP.NET frameworks? we run it and then it open using 127.0.0.1 or localhost and then some port number, right? It means that it actually use some web servers to run our projects or run our web form. So what web server it use?
Chrome.
What?
Google Chrome.
Google Chrome is browser. Yeah. So next time when you go to your peripherals, right, okay, you run it and then at the right bottom side here, you will see an icon. And that icon is IIS. And you click on that IIS, right click, right, you will see okay, it run at localhost and then the port. So that one is IIS. IIS, the full word is what? IIS, the full word is IIS, okay, Internet Information Service, IIS, okay. The ones that we run together, okay, you write IIS and then the full words, okay, depend on the markers. It is better write the full one, Internet Information Service and then okay, inside the brackets put in IIS. The ones that we use together with our IDE tools, right? That one is IIS Express. Okay, another version of IIS. But no long if you put in IIS on it. Okay? But the ones that we use in our practical, okay, exercise together with the practical exercise is IIS Express. Okay? A small version of IIS. Okay, 2 marks. Okay. Database server. Okay. When you go to next chapters, okay, chapter 4 and your practical 4, you will start to build your database. Okay, and that database we use the database server which included in our Visual Studios, Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay, that's database servers that we use is Microsoft SQL Express. Okay. Microsoft SQL Express. Database that you learn, okay, in your database class you use Oracle, right? Okay. This one we use Microsoft SQL Server Express. Okay. Here is this one. Microsoft SQL Server is Microsoft SQL Server is SQL servers provided by Microsoft, this company. And then the light versions installed together in our Visual Studio is Microsoft SQL Server Express. Okay. So if you put in Microsoft SQL Server, it is okay. If you want to put in Microsoft SQL Server Express, also can. Okay. But I want you to know that the ones that we use together, installed together in our IDE is Express version, including the IIS also Express version. Okay. Programming language, programming. Okay. Programming that we use is C#, right? C#. Okay. You want to put in Visual Basic also can. Okay. IDE tools. Okay. IDE tool that we use is Microsoft Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code. Microsoft Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code is the one that you use for HTML. Okay, now count your own marks, how many marks you get. Okay, I still have one more question you need to do. Yeah? Okay, this one is also questions 1. In another questions, partial questions. Questions 1C. Okay, C 1 and 2, do it now. 10 minutes. C or name? C. Then we go to this event driven and prospect. Okay, so what is events? Okay, what is the difference between HTML event and server control event? Okay, what is page event and prospect? Okay, and the events-driven programming, how do we apply it in our web form project? So what is event? Okay, so event is an action that we take on our web application or our applications by some folks outside of our codes. So that one is event. Okay, so this external folks is usually the user. Okay, like the user click on the button, so the user trigger an event. Okay, so events can hold codes that will run when the action occurs. So that one we call it event handlers. So what is event? This is some folks outside our applications. Okay, and then apply it to our applications. So events-driven environments can be broken down into 4 sections. An event occurs. Examples like when the user click on the buttons. This is a fox from the outside. The one we call it an event occurs. So our systems detect the event. So ASP.NET register that the events has occurred. The system reads to the event. So it reads and then some code is executed. Like when the user click on the buttons, we do something like do the calculation and then display the results. So the system reacts to the event. The system returns to its original step and then waits for the next event. So this is event-driven environments which can be broken down into 4 sections, and this is the 4 section. Theory is very boring. So, the sequence way of code executions line by line. It's not event-driven. Line by line, that one is step by step, right? Event-driven is depends on the user actions. The system will wait until an event occurs, and this is event-driven programming. So 3 major events groups supported by ASP.NET HTML events, ASP.NET page level events, and ASP.NET server control events. HTML events means that it occurs on the web page and handled by the browser or the client. There is no transfer between clients and server. Used to handle the events on the client side. Examples, what you have done a lot. Example is this one. So this is the HTML and JavaScript. So we have a web forms. The web forms, you have actions. Action means that when we submit the forms, it will send our form data to somewhere, right? That one we put inside the action. This is still the HTML which you have learned. And we have one on submit. On submit has a function. This function we put inside the JavaScript, and you see it is my function. Come up with an alert. So this type of events, we call it HTML event. Under this 3 category, this is the first category. This is HTML event. How the code works? You're very familiar with it. You have done a lot previously. Okay, so this is HTML event. So ASP.NET events, page event, and server control event. Okay, page events. Okay. So this page event automatically run by ASP.NET when the page is loaded. Okay, the occurs before the users can even see the page. There's no user involvement. Example of this event is page load. Okay. This is a page event and stage. Okay. In this ASP.NET, okay, initialize it, load it, pre-render it, render it, and then unload. Okay, so this is the steps of the events, okay, page events and stages in this ASP.NET. Under this initialize, also we have pre-initialize, okay, initial and initial complete. Load, we have preload, okay, load, okay, and load complete. Pre-renders also, okay, we have pre-renders and pre-renders complete. Okay, so this is the events and the stages of the page events. Okay, so from that stages, okay, more explanation or more descriptions on that initiate, okay, load, pre-renders, and unload. Okay, what is initial? Okay, initial is an event, right? Initial is the first one. Okay, initial. Okay, initial loads, pre-renders, renders, and unload, right? Okay, initial loads, pre-renders, and unload. Okay, initial means that when the page is request from the server, and then this event is raised, and before the view state of the page control has been restored. Okay, view state. What is the view state? Later you will see the word view state. Okay. Okay, this is one of the features in this ASP.NET, okay, which, okay, used to keep, okay, to retain the state. Okay, that one is, okay, one of this view state. Okay, so we go back to the event initiate. Okay, initiates occurs when when a page is request from the server and this event is raised before the view state of the page controls has been restored. So load. Okay, this event load, okay, means that, okay, it occurs when, okay, a page is request from the server. Okay, after all control has been initialized, okay, and view state has been restored. Okay, this is the events that we use to perform initializations operations. Examples like when we retrieve the data, okay, and we initialize the form control. Explanations on what is the load. Okay, events pre-renders. Okay, pre-renders is when all the control events, okay, of that page have been processed. Okay, pre-renders. Control event has been processed, okay, before the HTML, okay, and then we'll send back to the browsers, okay, and send back to the browsers and to generate it. Okay, that one is pre-renders. Okay, unload. Okay. The page unload, okay, from IIS server or IIS memories and send out to the browser. Okay, so this a series of events, okay, which occurs on the web server, okay, and this tables of the description actually is the explanations on this, okay, initialize, load, pre-renders, renders, and unload. We see web page only. We put in the URL and then we send a request to the server and perform some things from a form. But at the back of, okay, what we see, okay, this is what happens. Okay, page events and stages. Okay, ASP.NET server control events. Okay, so this is the largest event group, okay, handled by the server. Occurs, okay, when users interact with the page. Examples like, okay, it does not occur automatically like the page event. Okay, page events occurs automatically. Examples like page loads. Okay, this does not. Okay, so examples, okay, when the user click the events, and then this event associated with our server control. Okay, so ASP button is a server control. Okay, so this is server control events. Okay, some advantages like all the event handles executes on the server. Okay, so available resources like custom built object, etc. Not relying on the browser's capabilities. Okay, can use any language to write the codes for the event handles. At least what we know is C# and Visual Basic, right? Okay, recall back says, what are the three major groups of events supported by the ASP.NET? So what is that? HTML event, fetch events, okay, server control events, that's three. Okay. Okay, two groups of events handled by the servers, fetch events, okay, and then the servers, okay, server control events. Okay, why is it necessary to handle the event on the client side since the server side events handles are more powerful? Okay, so to reduce the server load, okay, okay, and some okay, it is more faster, okay, if the events able to handle by the client and then handled by the clients without the round trips, right? Okay, this is what we have learned a lot, and when we go through any web related subject. Okay, add the events to the server control. Okay, so we add the attributes, okay, with the name of the events and set the values to an event handles. This is ASP button. Okay, ASP buttons compared with HTML is we use ASP button. It is run as server, and we put in an ID. Okay, we put in text. Okay, text is the one that shows on the button, right? Compared with HTML we use value equal to something. Right? Okay, so events. Click is an event. Okay, so we put in event handles. Okay, this is how we add events to a server control. Okay, but normally I won't encourage directly change or put in any code inside the source. I would say whatever that you click and drag from the toolbox, and then you have the properties. Inside the properties, you're able to see, on click. Then under that on clicks, you put in your event handles. Okay, or else, sometimes you will accidentally delete some things in our source, and then you will see the yellow page. So we create the event handles. This is the event handles. The functions that runs, when, and events occurs. Okay, so this is the functions, right? We click and drag the buttons to our web form. We click and drag the buttons to our web form. We double click our button, and automatically it will generate this function. It will generate this event handles according to our button. Button one click. Okay. Don't write it by yourself. This one lets our Visual Studios generate for us. Double click, it will generate this. Okay. Then we see what is the meaning of this. Okay. So, object centers also, this one will be generated. So object centers means that it provides a reference to the object or the callers. Okay. Which will raise the event. Caller is the one, the button. Okay, the buttons. The centers is the button. We will click on the button. We will click on the buttons, and then it will invoke this event handles, and then we will do something according to the codes that we put inside this event handles. Okay, so this is event arguments E, and event class, which captures the information regarding the state of the events handles, and pass the objects specific to the event. So this is the explanations on this event handles, and this event handles auto-generate. Auto-generate. Okay. Another examples, image click event arguments. Image button also. inside our standard under toolbox, we'll click and drag the image button, and we put in something inside the property. Say we set the image URL as fish.jpg. Okay, so when we double click the image button, okay, inside our source, inside our source. Okay, in our source we see this one. Okay, in our CS file we see this. Okay, double click the image button. Okay, in our CS file it will generate this button click. Okay, button click. Okay, so we know what is the arguments about. Okay, if no, go back to the previous slide. Okay, and then we put in our auto codes to handle the event. Say examples like if the sender equals to the image button once, then you do something. Yeah. So what are the differences between HTML event and server control event? Okay, HTML event handles run on the clients. Okay, another ones run on server. Okay, rely on browser. Okay, it will work across all browsers. Okay, event handles codes can only be written in JavaScript. Okay, event handle codes can be written in any languages. Okay, which support by .NET, and the language that we use for this subject is C#. Okay, resources restricts to clients and more available resources. So these are the differences between HTML event handles and server control event handles. Okay, so stateless requests. Okay, HTTP is stateless. This one we know since we first learned web-related subject. So HTTP is stateless. It means that it will retain no knowledge from one request to the next. You want to keep information from one request to another. Okay, so this is the scenario of it. Okay. Okay, under this, we know only HTTP is stateless. Okay, so we know. Okay, now we see the scenario of how this HTTP is stateless. Okay, when the client sends a request, under the client side, a state change, request state establish, response, state maintains, state change, request, state establish, and then state loss. Okay. And state maintained means that every single request, it is an individual request. There's no state retains for the next request from this current request. There's no state established, state loss, state established, state loss. This is the stateless request. Okay, stateful prospect. Okay, we use server control. Okay, we use server control, which we drag from our standards toolbox. So server controls can retain the state across prospect. Okay, so what is prospect? Okay, prospect process which the browser sends the information to the server, and then handles the events, send the HTML back to the client. So web forms, when we use the server control, you will see server control will have this run at server. And this, web controls or the server controls can retain state. Compare with we use the HTML web form. Okay, use HTTP or HTTP protocol, which that protocol is stateless. How to overcome this stateless? One of the examples used by ASP.NET is web form. Because of web forms can retain the stats across the prospect and the request. So what is prospect? It is prospect. So what is prospect process? Event occurs. Client sends to the server, server executes, and then send result back to the clients. This one is event occurs, right? Scenario of event occurs. So let's see how the prospect work. Browser requests. We have two types of method, right? Get. When we use URL to request from the server, this is what we call it get. Okay, so we get browser request. Okay, so server process. Okay, server will call the page load event handles. Okay, remember, so we have 3 types of events. One is HTML event, and one is page event. Page events, and we use page load, and one is server control events. Okay, so browser request gets server response, call the page load, and generate the HTML response. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay, we put in the URL, okay, and then what we see from the browser is this page, and then displays to the browser. This is get. Okay, 6. Then users fills in the forms, and then user fills in the forms. Click on the handles. Okay, and this times it is a post back to the server. Browser request using the post method. Okay, this is post back. Yeah. Some of you, you already done something related to particle tree. Okay, when you click and drag your drop list, okay, you add items to your drop list, RIS, RIT, RES. At the same time, you will see a small checkbox. Okay, by default is unchecked. That one is enable prospect. Enable prospect. This is the meaning of this prospect. Okay, once ASPX, our web form is .ASPX, right? In one ASPX, we have one web form. What is web form? We have one form now, okay? Form. Okay, when you see the source, you will see the form, close the form inside the source page. That one is form. So in one web form, we have one web form stack. One, not two, one only. Okay, and by default, okay, when we put in the button, the submit button, okay, the submit buttons will have the prospect. Okay, when we click on the submit, actually it is prospect sends the post to the server. Okay, this is the submit button. Other than the submit buttons, okay, says when you see the check destinations and the locations, what is the price for that ticket? When you change the destinations, right, you want to see the changings of the price. In that case, you need to manually enable the prospect for that drop-down box. Okay, this is the prospect. So this is the prospects. Okay, prospects to the server means that browser requests post to this event test.aspx 8. Okay, server process. Okay. After that, server call the page load event handles. Okay. And then because of it needs to page load is whenever you open a page load will run first, right? That one is page load, page event. Okay. After that, the button click event handles. Because of the users click on the button submit the form. Okay, using the prospect. Okay, so page load still will come first, and then this one event handles. Button enter click event handles. Okay, and then it will generate the HTML response. Okay, and then display in the browser. Okay, so this is the full process of this events. Yeah. Okay, so this is the prospect process. Okay, prospect process. When we see these scenarios, then we understand the get and the prospect. Yeah. So view stats. Yes, just now we see the view stat, right? The word view stats. Okay, in one of it, initial, render, pre-render, whatever things. One of it. Okay. So what is view stats? Okay. When a prospect is used, information about the state of that ASP.NET platform is sent back in an associated hidden control, okay, which we call it view stats. And this is how the view stat look like. Okay. When we have the inputs, or ASP text box, we click and drag, okay, put inside our web form, and in our source file we see ASP tag, text box. Okay, so when we run it, right, ASP text box will change to input HTML tag, right? And at the same time, you will see this, okay, then equal to view stat, and then what is the value? This is the view stat. Okay, this view stats carry the stat. Okay, HTTP is stateless, right? How to remember the stats? Okay, inside this platform, they use view stat. This is view stat. How it carry the stat. Okay, and with the encrypted value, this is the encrypted value. So let's see more on this view stats. Okay, what is view stat? Okay, information in view stat is generated by ASP.NET but encrypts the value of the old stat in the form. Okay, so examples like user selection for each web controls. Okay, and then with this information, view stat information, ASP.NET can persist the stat between the page submissions. So this is one of the stat maintenance options used by ASP.NET. Okay, works together with the form. Okay, during the prospect, okay, you learn a lot of new terms today. And next week, again, we test whether you understand all these new terms. Okay, so view stat. Let's see in more details. This is view stat, right? Okay, HTTP handles. Okay, the page life cycles begin with invokes the HTTP handles. Okay, process request method. Okay, and then which build up the control hierarchies. The instantiations, the stage. Okay, we see the previous image, right? Okay, and then let's see how it works in this initializations, loads. Okay, so follow the instance. Okay, follow the steps. Okay, you see how it works. Okay, using these stages. Okay, initialize. Okay, initializations. Okay, control raise the initialized events. Okay, just now we go through the event stages, right? Event stages. This is the event stages. So first, initialize. Okay. Okay. Load the view stat only on the prospect. Okay. Load the prospect data only on the prospect. Load the controls. Raise the load events, and then raise the prospect events. Okay. Set the view stats, and then render out. Go back to this HTTP handles. The renders markups is returns. Okay, to the web server. Okay. And others event stages which involve prospect. Okay, the render stats generate the HTML markups for the page. Okay, this markup is returned to the web server, which send it back to the requesting times. Just now, without the prospects, we already see the stages of the initialize, load, preload, this kind of stages, right? So when we get in the prospect related things, that's how the prospects added inside these stages. Initialize, load the view stats for the prospect. Load the prospect data for the prospect and load it, and then raise the prospect events for the prospect and set the view stats rendered back to the browser. Okay, this is still the view stats. We go to the next one. Okay. The stages of view stat. The view stats. So stage 1, initialize the page with the properties and value. Stage 2, load view stats and then restore the control. And stage 3, load the prospect. Examples like the form data, with the ended text. Stage 4, page load event trigger. stage 5. Erase the prospect event. Examples like the toggle list, the button click prospect event, right? Selected index change events, or buttons click. Event can be the data change events or the race events. And then stage 6, set the view stats and then render. These stages set with this one minutes. More explanations on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 stage. So this is the explanation on that 7 stage. View stats stages. View stats we use to store the programmatic changes. Okay, read the theory is too boring. So let's see some coding here. This is SPS, right? SPS source. So in this SPS source, we have labels, button, and button. One is submit, one is reset, empty prospect. So this is the one, right? And labels, submits, and that's it. Labels, submits, and empty prospect. A simple source page. And then this is event handles. When we double click the submit button, it generates the event handles. Then we put in some code examples and put in shows the text inside our labels. So this is based on this simple source code. This one is a source, right? Based on these two symbols, source page and CS file. So that one is source, this is CS file, right? So this is how the view stat works. Step 1. ASP.NET web page visit by a user for the first time. And the render HTML display the message hello world. So what stages gone through just by this simple scenario is instantiation stage. The message shows the word hello world. View stats. View stats stage. Nothing happens. There's no prospect. Set view stats stage. Nothing happens. Also, there's no stat changes. Render stage. It render out the words hello world. So this is what happens in those stages. What we understand is that one, right? 2 pages, right? A labels with hello world, 2 buttons. A CS file with the event handles when we click on the submit button. Right? So this is how the view stats works. When we open the page only, open the page, instantiation stage, load view stage, set view stage, and render stage. So step 2. This is just open the page. Step 2 is when the user click on the button. So when the user click on the change message button, it will cause a prospect. I'm still explaining what is view stat. What is prospect? So I explained a lot. Later you need to write a lot. The change message buttons clicks the event handles files. Set the labels properties to goodbye everyone. The change is recorded in the view stats and then the set view stats. And then render out the words goodbye everyone. So what I've gone through, what I've gone through under the single web page is after the user click on the button is first instantiation stage. First is hello world. Load the view stats. View stats. Nothing happens, no stats to record. Load from the last prospect. And then erase the prospect event. Erase the prospect event because of the user click on the button. Erase the prospect. So the buttons event files, the labels text now, the properties set to goodbye everyone. Okay, raise the prospect and then save the view set. Okay, so save the view set. Okay, the text properties now can keep the view set. Render stage receives the goodbye everyone. Yeah. So a simple page applies. We have long theories in the right. Yeah, stages, right? Stages. Okay. There are two buttons, right? Two buttons. Okay. One is the ones it changed to goodbye. Another one is empty one, right? Remember your your two pages. So now step 3 is when the user click on the empty prospect, okay, it calls the prospect. Okay. Okay, upon prospects, okay, the labels now set back to hello world. Hello world, goodbye, right? Hello world, goodbye. Okay, in the load view set, stage, okay, the labels properties assign back to goodbye everyone. And since this was the self label stage from the previous visit, okay, so surrender HTML then is the message goodbye everyone. Okay, so see how the stages work. Stages first, okay, instantiations, that is hello world. Okay, view stats, okay, the view stats, okay, it will text from the previous prospect. Yeah, the previous prospect is goodbye everyone, so it saves the view stats. Okay, and then it render out goodbye everyone. Okay, view set. Okay, why two click buttons? Okay, a lot of things at the back. Okay, so I explain this view select explains the stages of view state, okay, together with the prospect. Okay, so we can view the view state properties, okay, using this one, okay, view states, and then your key names, okay, sets the properties of this view state. And then the user scenario of this is when we create a page labels, okay, sort labels, data grids, okay, and the sort expressions, okay, will persist across the prospect, and then we can use the view sets properties like this. Okay, view sets, what is the key name, what is the value of it? Okay. It's good to use view stats, okay, because of it can let us retains the stat, okay, and but the cost of it, okay, view set need to be serialized into encoded string. So when we see the view set in a HTML, it will have very long encrypted code, right? Okay, characters. So it means that it needs to be serialized into encoded string. And then on prospect, it needs to be deserialized and update the control. Okay, so it will text the resources to process, and it will need the extra size and to keep it. Okay. So there are performance costs of the view sets. Okay, so this is the view sets. Just now we see it's two lines only, but it can be very long one. All these things, okay, first it uses the resources. The second is it needs the extra space. And this is a data grid control view set. Okay, finally until here already. You can write. Okay, means that until here, you reach here, you end the class. Okay, so what is prospect? Just when we go through the prospect, right? When you click on the buttons, click on the buttons, you will see the scenarios. One is when we open the gates, right? When we fill the forms, we click on the buttons, the prospect happens. Okay. So prospect happens when we need to have closed pages, okay, prospect, okay, then we can use this property, okay, prospect URL. Prospect URL is when we want to send the form related things to another URL, we use this prospect URL. Okay, so use to get or set the URL of the page to post when the button control is clicked. Okay, and the page is posted to the URL assigned another page. Okay, but not the page itself. Yeah, so this is what we call it cross-page prospect. We use the property prospect URL. Properties is when we use Visual Studios, right? Whatever things that we can, whatever objects that we can find inside the web form, okay, we actually able to set the properties under properties box. Okay, one of the properties is prospect URL. Yeah. Okay. Okay, prospect. Okay, we have web form 1. Okay, so says web form 1 buttons. Okay, we set the property prospect URL to web form 2. This is web form 2, so it go to web form 2. Okay, so in web form 2, if you want to use the previous web control in the previous page, then we can use the previous page and then find the control text box 1 in web form 1. Okay, so this is something related to the cross page. Okay, so we use previous page. This is the properties that hold the reference to the page before, which calls the prospect in our web form 1. And find control is a method that we use to get the control reference from the previous page. Okay. Demo during the practical, directly use your practical exercise. Okay. Any questions so far? No, it's good. Cross check, head count before we go.